you can see, there's me on my own again today, talking bollocks as usual. I have to first apologise for the fact that I've not been in a few videos for quite a while. It's mainly due to shift patterns and work and other commitments, which has also meant that I haven't been able to upload things as quickly as I once hoped. Anyway, today I'm going to give you a little talking bollocks about horror films in general, and a new film that I've seen that who knows when it's coming out, but we'll get to that shortly. So, horror films is something that I enjoy. It's something that I do like to watch quite regularly. I'm not really sure why it's been that way, but it's been like that for quite a while. I'm not sure if it's the suspense or the action or whatever, but they're probably my favourite genre of film. When things pop up on my newsfeed on Facebook and on different things, I generally like to have a look and see what the new films are like. Today I've got a film for you called Infini, or something, spelled INFINI. So it's a film that doesn't seem to have been very well publicised. Looking into it a little bit, it's an Australian film which apparently, according to IMDb, is out in 2014. It's not something that I've heard of before, but when I checked out the trailer, it looks pretty good. I'll quickly read you the synopsis of what this film is meant to be. Set in the dark reaches of space, Infini is the story of a search and rescue team transported to a distant mining station to save Whit Carmichael, who is Daniel McPherson, who is the lone survivor of a freak accident. Using slipstream technology, the team must transport into a hostile environment and quarantine a lethal biological weapon which is said to arrive on Earth within the hour. Interesting. My first thoughts were, this is Event Horizon all over again. But is that really a bad thing? I liked Event Horizon. It was a good film at the time. It was probably one of the most well publicised horror films that there was about at the time. Infini could be the next film revamp. I don't think you really call it a revamp if it's not the same film, but it obviously follows a lot of the same sort of aspects and storylines and things like that. I have the trailer here as well. I'll quickly put that on. I'm not sure whether you'll be able to hear it, but I'm going to turn it down a little bit just so hopefully you don't. So it starts off with an American style sort of trailer beginning of some guy, and he's there and he has a dream and he doesn't know what the dream's about. It then moves on to some people walking about in spacesuits, very alien sort of feel of it. Torches, alien sort of weaponry and looks with the sort of spacesuits and things like that. More of a feeling of Prometheus perhaps than the original Alien films, but there's definitely a bit of Alien in there as well. So they're exploring, obviously they've reached this place where it's going to be, where they're headed to. They find that, like, the next thing that you see finds a crystallized human of some kind who's obviously been frozen, probably to do with space, but obviously that's not explained. You've got them then walking about, torches out, and the little torches on top of their heads and things like that. Some are floating in zero gravity, and then a man stood in front of a panel which is lighting up, again very Event Horizon. You've got a man sat in a spaceship and lots of other people wandering about. There's a big fan spinning which sort of reminded me of Alien 3. And then you've got this man who I assume is the one that they've come to collect, come to pick up, or whatever, who seems to be running amok inside this spaceship of some kind. There's a bit of a fight scene, a bit of action, and people going around with some space age new style medical tricorder sort of idea. Somebody's then shooting down the corridor. They've got that scene in which I have to admit I enjoy in Event Horizon, where they end up, they start watching the film back from the previous crew, guy stood covered in blood saying, "I am." Now whether that means that it's part of the ship, the same as Rise, now whether that means they're in Earth, I don't know. It's put out there as a new Australian spaceship scarefest. I don't like that title very much. I have to admit, it doesn't fill me with confidence with the film. I mean, the trailer looks absolutely fantastic, but then look at the trailer for Prometheus, the potential of having a fantastic producer and writer and actors and all that sort of idea. And you all know how that sort of ended up. So that's something that is going to be coming out apparently in 2014. I'll give you a little rundown of the cast who's in there as well. From IMDb, as we said before, you've got Dynamite Faison, who plays Whit Carmichael, who I assume is the one that's locked up there or doesn't want to see him. I don't really know. Claire Alex, who else have we got? Luke Hemsworth. I'm sure I've seen him in something. Maybe not. Let's have a look and see who the main actor is, and see if he's been in anything popular recently. Probably not. It is interesting that a lot of these actors and actresses that are involved in this film have been neighbours. I'll let you think of that as you will. So, there's my little review of a film that's possibly going to be coming out, an Australian film, which I suppose with class as well cinema, if you wanted to think of it that way around. It's not subtitled or anything like that, so you don't need to worry about that sort of stuff. It's a horror film which potentially could be very good or potentially could not be. Here's an interesting thought for you in terms of the fact that we're talking bollocks at the minute. Talked to somebody the other day who was talking about Prometheus, which we have sort of touched on like recently, I think, when I've been talking about this sort of section. At the beginning of the film, there's one of the big guys in white. I don't really know what you would call them. A lot of people call them engineers, but you know, you don't really know what they are. And he stood on a planet, and he does something to engineer life, and I think most people would agree that that's what it is that he's doing. But the person that I was talking to was saying that the planet that they were on was not a one that wasn't Earth. It wasn't one where they produced humans, and he was convinced that it was producing the predators. I don't know where he got that from. It didn't really have sort of a reason behind that, but it was an interesting thought nonetheless. So that was something that I found quite interesting to think about anyway. I wanted also to talk about different horror sort of genres and films and things, and I know we've touched on this before when we've looked at the different genres of films, and when we've been talking bollocks. If you look at horror in space, which is sci-fi horror, so something that I've just sort of put there, you always seem to get the same sort of films. You'll get Aliens, you'll get Event Horizon, you'll get the Predator films, if you can class them as outer space. I'm not sure whether you can or not really, but they also have extraterrestrial, so they would kind of follow that in a sense. But when you're looking at other sort of horror films and genres, they always seem to follow the same pattern of Event Horizon and 2001 and Alien and all that sort of stuff, which I suppose is not entirely a bad thing, because what other patterns could you follow? It's an interesting sort of idea to consider. I mean, let's have a look at the films that we've got. Aliens produced almost began sort of an adventure sort of exploration film, if you like, which then went all a bit wrong. Spawned the Alien sort of franchise, which changed in a sense. Another spacey sort of style of horror film, if you like, was Pitch Black, which was another sort of low budget film that I really enjoyed. Vin Diesel in that one. the subsequent films that came out that changed from horror to sci-fi, they lost something. They were written for an audience that I don't know whether it really existed, when all they really wanted was more horror films. But I suppose it comes back to the same sort of idea that they could sell sci-fi better than they could sell horror, and so that was a bit of a fail in my eyes with that sort of stuff. The films were not very good. They even did an animated film which was interesting. Out of the new films, I think it was probably my favourite, but Pitch Black was obviously the original horror with not a lot of blood, I don't think, if I remember rightly, but there was a lot of suspense in it, and a sense of sort of impending sort of problematic issues. So that was another horror film which was brought out there and never really sort of doubled, if you like, even though people do try to copy these kind of films. This infini, whatever you want to say, the sort of film also had another failing for it, which I was thinking about, which was Pandora. That was an interesting film in the sense that it was a space film. It didn't take place in space, although you thought it did. It took place on a spaceship, which you could probably have got rid of in a sense, but obviously it was crucial to the film to make you think that you were travelling in space, and then it was no, it didn't, spoilers obviously. It was kind of like a 28 Days Later mixed with horror film in space, which gave a very good go to the things that it did, and I thought it was a very good film, but it sort of lacked something for me, although, I do rate it quite highly. I think Pandora will probably get a 7 or an 8 from me, so you are looking at something good there. Yeah. I find the concept of horror in space difficult because you've got the fact that it's continuity, which is something that I like to see in films quite regularly. The continuity of space is difficult because you could then you could have a film which would be absolutely 100% correct, but if it's not really what the public would design or what they would like, then they're always going to get a bad review, even though it's correct. So it's difficult in a sense, and then if you meet an alien species or an alien version of humanity, you then fall into the trap of lots of other issues that, to be good with continuity, would have to be thought out and make the sort of making of the film difficult. So you either go into complex detail and make it good in the sense of continuity, but perhaps lose a bit in terms of the action and the horror, or do you make it not quite so good and make a good horror film? With the horror on Earth, as it were, it's easy because people know what's out there and they know things to be scared of and so on and so forth. But in space it's difficult. I always found that the aliens ones were some of my favourite in terms of continuity. There wasn't many things in it that couldn't or didn't exist. Whereas other films that you've seen, like Lost in Space, Sunshine and things like that, I always found were a bit lacking in the sense that they gave it a good go and they had a very good storyline, and then the way that things started were very good, but they were sort of empty and hollow because they were just sort of padding out different bits. So, where do you go from stuff like that? You can't, I suppose I was going to say you can't produce more alien films, but trying to produce alien films, except they're not alien films because they if you see horror in space, it's all generally about the fact that people get lost or there's something coming to get them that they don't know anything about. Whereas you do have all sorts of different sort of genres of space horror which you could always find, but it always seems to be following the same sort of path, or rather the ones that come out and are highly publicised, or ones that come out that are that make it all seem to follow the same pattern. And is that because the people accept that pattern and then that's the stuff that they want and that's the stuff that they like, or is it because of some other reason? Any horror film that you have on Earth, more or less, you could probably do in space in some form or another. Take the sort of Babylon 5 look at things, in the sense that yes, okay, they were in space and they were in a spaceship, but the spaceship was 5 miles long, so anything in that spaceship could have been something that would have been on Earth. So things that you saw, getting lost somewhere or being chased by someone or something along those lines became the same as it would be on Earth because the spaceship was so big. But if you're then going to sort of have that idea, the concept of why it's there and what it does and all that sort of idea has to come into context and it has to be there. So you have to then go into a lot more detail as to what things are and why. So it's an interesting way of thinking about it. We're coming up to maybe 20 minutes there now, so I'm not going to be on for too much longer, but I will give you another sort of interesting thought. The same person I was talking to you about, the engineers that I was talking about earlier on, was also talking about a film called Serenity, which was a film that came out a few years ago, 2000s, and was named by Jonathan Ross as his film of the year, except there was not many sales of it, and it was all that sort of stuff. We've gone into this a lot of times, but they consider it horror. The beginning of the film is again a sort of adventure, travel, space sort of film, similar to the way that Alien started, but they end up having to go to a planet where people have changed and become something else, and that then becomes horror because they're being chased and killed and all that sort of stuff. So you've got to consider whether that sort of idea is classed as horror or not. I like the film, I like Serenity for its being a film, and I love the box set, which is Firefly, which is the part TV series that they produced, and if you haven't seen it, go out and buy it. If you haven't seen the film, go out and buy that, or download it on Netflix or whatever. It's like £3 now, so you can get it anytime you want. I do think Blu-ray is probably the way to go for it if you're going to buy it on DVD, because the quality of it is fantastic. It's space cowboy /horror. If you want to look at it that way, you'll get a good few laughs out of it because there are some very funny bits, and then you'll probably feel sad the fact that they didn't make any more, but we've been through that already. So yeah, it's very quick talking bollocks. I think I'll probably be having another one going up shortly as well, as my shifts will be working Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, which means I won't be able to get through to film with Richard and Anthony, but hopefully we'll get some of the world cinema and things like that up shortly for you to have a look at. I am going to try and get some more talking bollocks and all of our sort of stuff put together and upload it as soon as you can. As with anything, as with all of these as it were, make sure you like the page, subscribe. There's Instagram, there's Facebook, there's YouTube. Give us a like, give us a comment, let us know what's happening, try and spread the word a little bit. We want to try and get as many people viewing the pages and the videos as you can. If you want anything specifically reviewed or looked at, or if you have any sort of opinions on the fact that we've been incorrect or correct, let us know, drop us a line, give us a comment. If you give us a message on some films you want to see,